The Vraxian armada had been decimating the colonial outpost of Kepler 442b for 3 standard hours. Energy beams carved through the settlement's shields like plasma through ice, and the defenders knew they had minutes, perhaps seconds, before complete annihilation. Lieutenant Katniss Chen gripped the command console of the defense station, her knuckles white against the metal. Around her, the surviving officers worked frantically at their stations, their faces illuminated by the crimson emergency lighting. The screams of the dying echoed through the comm channels, and she forced herself to focus on the tactical display rather than the humanity behind those voices. "Shields at 12%, reported Ensign Neo Reeves from the weapons station, his young face streaked with soot and determination. "We've got maybe one more volley before they breach the inner ring." Katniss nodded grimly. The Vraxians were a brutal species, 6-legged insectoid warriors who had carved through half the galaxy before humanity had even discovered fire. They didn't take prisoners. They didn't negotiate. They consumed and moved on, leaving only silence in their wake. "All remaining batteries focus fire on their flagship," Katniss ordered. It was a futile gesture, but she'd be damned if they died without fighting. "If we're going down, we're taking that bastard with us." Neo's fingers flew across his console, coordinating the last desperate attack. The defense batteries spat their final rounds of rail-accelerated projectiles toward the massive Vraxian dreadnought. The shots scattered harmlessly against its shields, barely registering on the enemy's threat assessment. Then, something changed. The Vraxian bombardment stopped. Not slowed, not reduced, stopped completely. The sudden silence was so profound that Katniss thought for a moment she'd gone deaf. She looked up at the holographic display, searching for an explanation. "What the hell?" Neo whispered. On the tactical screen, the Vraxian fleet was breaking formation, their ships scattering like insects exposed to sudden light. Katniss's heart hammered as she zoomed out the display, searching for the cause of their panic. And then she saw it. A single ship descended through the upper atmosphere, trailing fire and fury in its wake. It was massive, easily twice the size of the Vraxian flagship, but what made Katniss's breath catch wasn't its size. It was its design. Angular, brutal, and distinctly human, the hull was scarred with the marks of 1,000 battles, and along its flanks, she could make out the weathered letters, UNSC Indomitable. "Is that—" Neo's voice trailed off in disbelief. "A human warship," Katniss finished, her voice barely above a whisper. "A real one." The Indomitable moved with a grace that belied its enormous mass, positioning itself between the colony and the Vraxian fleet. For a long moment, nothing happened. The battlefield held its breath, then the human warship opened fire. What followed wasn't a battle, it was an execution. The Indomitable's weapon systems activated in sequence, each one a masterpiece of human engineering born from centuries of warfare. Magnetic accelerator cannons spat tungsten rounds at a fraction of light speed, punching through Vraxian shields like they weren't even there. Point defense lasers created a web of death that vaporized incoming missiles before they could arm. And from the ship's ventral bays, swarms of autonomous combat drones deployed, each one carrying enough firepower to cripple a frigate. The Vraxian flagship, the same dreadnought that had been casually destroying the colony moments before, attempted to return fire. Its plasma cannons charged, their sickly green glow building to a crescendo. The shots lanced out toward the Indomitable. They never connected. The human warship's shields flared, absorbing the impact with barely a flicker. Then, almost contemptuously, the Indomitable's main gun fired. The magnetic accelerator cannon, a weapon so powerful it required the ship's entire reactor output to charge, spoke once. Just once. The Vraxian flagship split in half, its shields collapsing, its hull crumpling like paper. Secondary explosions rippled along its length as atmosphere vented into space, carrying debris and bodies with it. Within seconds, the pride of the Vraxian armada was nothing but expanding wreckage. "My God," Neo breathed. The remaining Vraxian ships tried to flee, their formation completely broken. It didn't matter. The Indomitable's drone swarms pursued them relentlessly, and one by one the alien vessels died. Some tried to jump to FTL, but the human warship had deployed gravitic inhibitors that locked down the entire sector. There would be no escape, no mercy, no survivors. Within 10 minutes it was over. The Vraxian fleet that had terrorized the sector for months was reduced to debris and radiation signatures. Katniss's comm console chimed with an incoming transmission. She accepted it with trembling fingers, and a weathered face appeared on the screen. The woman wore the uniform of Earth's United Naval Space Command, her silver hair tied back in a severe bun, her eyes hard as diamonds. "This is Captain Morrison of the UNSC Indomitable to Kepler 442b Defense Command. Sorry we're late. Had to take care of some other insects on the way." Katniss tried to speak, but her voice caught. Neo stepped forward, his young face alight with something between awe and gratitude. "Captain, this is Ensign Neo Reeves. Thank you doesn't seem adequate." Morrison's stern expression softened slightly. "You held them off for 3 hours with defense batteries and guts. That's what we came here for, Ensign. To fight for people who refuse to surrender. You did Earth proud." As the Indomitable established orbit and began deploying relief shuttles, Katniss finally found her voice. "Captain, how did you know we needed help?" Morrison smiled grimly. "The Vraxians made a mistake. They thought because we're far from Earth we'd be easy prey. They forgot something important about humans. What's that?" Neo asked. "We remember. Every attack, every colony, every life. And we have a very simple policy when it comes to species that threaten humanity." Morrison's eyes hardened again. "We don't retreat. We don't forgive. We descend and we remind the galaxy why you don't fuck with Earth's children." The transmission ended, leaving Katniss and Neo staring at the magnificent warship hanging in their sky like a guardian angel, forged in fire and fury. The battlefield had fallen silent, but the message was clear. Humanity had arrived and the galaxy would never be the same.